All right, so let's talk about that game against the Kansas City Chiefs. And I had a couple days to think about it because there was a lot to consider with this game. How I thought they played, how I thought the coaching staff did, Teddy Bridgewater, and the building frustration and sentiment among Denver fans. So let's just get into this. Was I pleased? Absolutely not. Was I surprised? Absolutely not. I kind of expected this. This has kind of been a recurring theme with the Fangio era, and it's a disturbing trend. Hell, this even dates back to Vance Joseph, so it's not even just specific to Vic. This goes back to Vance Joseph, where they would have a game or two where they looked incredible, they looked amazing, and people were like, wow, did you see how the Broncos looked? And then they do this, where they have a chance to capitalize, and then they do that. This happens all the time. But what's infuriating is that it is literally the same scenario as last year. You outgain the Chiefs. You hold them down offensively. Mahomes didn't even get a touchdown. Well, at least not passing the ball. He ran it in. But Kelsey and Hill both held to under 50 yards. Defensively, getting pressure on them all day. And we still lose the game. Because the offense simply did not show up. They chose to take the day off. And the team suffered as a result. So, I don't know. It feels like the same thing as last year. Teddy Bridgewater actually, I checked, stats-wise, he didn't even equal Drew Lock's performance last year in the Sunday night game. Drew Lock he was like 18 of 31 for like 175 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Though one of those picks came on a Hail Mary. At the end of the game. So Teddy's 2 picks, one of them was just a terrible throw to Sorensen, and the other one, can't totally put it on him. I mean, the throw is behind Patrick, but if not for the tip, it probably just falls incomplete. Nonetheless, Teddy Bridgewater was bad yesterday. Sunday, I should say. He was bad. He threw a lot of bad passes. He was off. He was inaccurate, and it hurt this team greatly. But once again, we're going to talk about Pat Shurmur. Pat Shurmur, you had Javonte Williams, a fantastic running back, and they could not stop him. And he only had 78 yards rushing, despite the fact that they were unable to stop him. I wonder why that is. A big reason why is because eventually the Chiefs did start putting a bunch of big men in the box. They realized Denver didn't want to throw the ball. Either Teddy was hobbled and they couldn't, and Denver didn't think he could, or they just flat out did not trust Teddy. So the Chiefs decided, okay, fine, you don't want to throw, we'll force you to throw. We'll just stack the box, blitz like crazy, we'll force you to do this, which is what good defenses do. They force you to do something you don't want to do, and unfortunately, Pat Shurmur, when he did do that, it didn't work out. Teddy honestly should have had 5 interceptions because he had 3 terrible throws, all of which were dropped, and we were lucky. One of them, he gets fooled by Willie Gay. He drops back into coverage. He doesn't see the linebacker in the lane. Nearly picks it off. One of them, it's kind of half on Sutton, half on Teddy. Sutton kind of doesn't really run through the entire route, but Teddy really does overthrow him and almost right into the hands of Charvarius Ward. And the second time, he's looking at Tim Patrick, and he almost underthrows Patrick as well, and Charvarius Ward nearly picks that off too. That wasn't very good. As a whole, I thought that the line was okay. I thought they were fine. It was nice to have Bowles and Massey back, though a lot of the blitzes came from the right side, and it really did not work out. It just felt like offensively they laid a huge egg, and I know that stats-wise it's not that bad, but if you watch the tape, it's bad. And this team does not look like they're ready for a playoff push. People are acting shocked, they're acting surprised. This is everything we've seen over the last 5 years. They have a game where they look good, maybe 2 games, but then they do this. Sure, it's not as bad in seasons past, but honestly, this team reminds me a lot of the 2018 Broncos, the last year with Vance Joseph, where they had some impressive wins, they rattled it off, and then they lost to the 2-10 49ers of all teams, and then they ended up losing heart and losing out. Now, here's the thing. They'll probably win next week. In fact, I'm going to the game. They'll probably beat the Lions because beating the Lions is not hard. I mean, yeah, the Vikings did it, but the Vikings honestly made it harder on themselves. Starting going down 20-6 at halftime doesn't help. The Lions will probably make it close. They're tough. They play hard. Dan Campbell has them motivated. Denver probably wins in the end because the Lions will make a mistake like they do every week. Is that going to change my mind? Is that going to change anybody's mind? No. Look, here's the thing when it comes to the Lions, and Lions fans, I don't mean any disrespect. It's going to feel like that, but this is just how it feels when it comes to playing against Detroit at this point. Beating them is not an accomplishment. You are supposed to beat the Lions. If you don't, you're the meme of the season. Congratulations, Vikings. Hey, Broncos, don't worry. You don't have to worry about that. I was going to get paranoid about us being their first win of the season. Congratulations. That doesn't have to happen. The Lions already did that. Vikings are the new meme of the season. But yeah, beating the Lions isn't an accomplishment. If you win, congrats. Congrats. You pad out your win total on next week. If you lose to Detroit, then we have problems. Beating the Lions is not an accomplishment. They are 1-10-1. What part of beating a 1-10-1 team is supposed to convince me that you fixed this issue? And to people acting like they were surprised that Denver lost so bad against Kansas City, what else have they shown you over the last few years? There's a reason I'm not that upset. You may be expecting me to come in here angry, yelling. I liked what I saw last week, but I didn't think they'd do it consistently, and they did it again. They did not do it consistently, because this is what they do all the time. I expect it at this point. You're not going to convince me that this team is going to fix a 5-year issue, that they're going to turn that in 1 week, when they've shown they can't even do it this season. So why am I supposed to be convinced of that? You're not going to tell me that a team that beats the hell out of the Cowboys and then loses to Philly at home, or a team that started off 3-0 against slack teams and then lost 4 straight games to teams that they honestly could have beaten, maybe a couple they should have beaten, and they lost those games and they got soundfully outplayed in them. You're not going to convince me that all of a sudden that switch is going to flip when we haven't even seen it so far this year. It's like you're telling me, okay, the 1,000th time didn't work, but the 1,001, that time is going to work. You're not going to convince me of that because you've done nothing to show me that. They're going to say every week, well, we want to do this and we're going to do that. They've yet to show it. So why are we mad? What are we expecting out of this team? And before you even say it, yes, I've gotten the comment that I'm just super negative, I'm pessimistic, and that I haven't really been truly supporting this team. I beg your pardon? What have they shown you to say that this is going to be any different? The record might not be as bad as years past, but it certainly doesn't mean an improvement. Yeah, Teddy is the best quarterback we've had since Peyton Manning. That doesn't mean he's good enough. Yeah, he set a career high for touchdowns on Sunday when he threw his 16th touchdown. That's the most he's ever thrown in a season. Congratulations, Teddy. Have a cookie. What do you expect me to say at this point? We know what this team is. We've seen it time and time again. I said it. On Sunday, if you beat Kansas City, we look at you differently, including myself. Maybe I start looking at this team differently. If you lose, it defines Fangio's tenure. Inconsistent and not good enough. They will probably beat the Lions next week, and then they'll probably lose to the Chargers and the Bengals. They might beat the Raiders to avoid a sweep, and then they'll lose to Kansas City again, and we will finish 8-9. There you go. You improved over last year, but you still faltered. And in fact, 8-9 should be considered a bad year for Vic Fangio, considering the fact that this season was catered to him. George Paton gave him everything he wanted, and nothing is working out. Pat Shurmur needs to be fired because, hey, George Paton said, hey, fine, I will give you the quarterback you want. You want a veteran quarterback? You want Teddy? Fine. Then how come you can't design a game plan that fits to his strengths? How come you can't design something that fits to the offense's strengths? How come you run screens on every third down despite the fact that they've worked, twice all season? What is your insistence? Why must the defense buckle at the worst times? I don't get it. Now, back to Vic Fangio real quick. I've been told that I can be a little harsh on Fangio, that I might be a little too harsh and give him the benefit of the doubt. The defense is playing well. I've never doubted that the guy can coach defense. I mean, yes, I questioned some of his schemes when they were getting blown out, but I never outright said he was a fraud. Fangio can coach defense. We know that very, very well. But let's be real, he lacks as a head coach. His clock management is very bad. He had another terrible challenge, and yes, I know that should have been a fumble. It doesn't really change much in the grand scheme of things because they ended up getting an interception on that drive, and then they went 3 and out. You got your turnover anyway, but you got a turnover anyway, and you did nothing with it. So what's the complaint here? His situational management, I appreciate going for it on 4th down. I'll give Vic that. I appreciated him going forward on fourth down. I liked the aggressiveness. I did not like the game plans that Pat Shurmur drew up for those fourth downs, and I think based on what they showed in the press box, George Paton was ready to fire somebody because Vic, go for fourth. I like that. But I don't like the plays that they ran, and that's on Pat. I can see some of the arguments for keeping Vic. I just think it's time for a change. If somehow they ended up doing something that maybe convinced me to let him stay, but you hire a damn good offensive coordinator, but that's the thing. Vic is not going to fire Pat Shurmur. The only way Pat goes, I think at this point, is Vic goes with him. That's it. There's no way you retain Vic Fangio, but fire pretty much everybody else. You kind of have to keep the staff together because it's Vic's guys, and Vic is stubborn. He will not fire his guys. So the only way Pat goes is if everybody goes at this point, and that's looking like what we're headed towards. People are upset, and some are surprised, and I don't get it. This is this team for the last 5 years. It's like telling Lions fans, hey, you won this week, you're probably going to lose next week. I guarantee you most Lions fans will not be shocked if they lose. They will not be shocked if they were to get blown out. They would not be shocked if they were to lose via a last-second field goal due to a dumb mistake. This happens all the time to them, so they expect things. This is what I've expected of the Fangio Broncos. It's what I expected of the Joseph Broncos. You have an inconsistent issue. You have a consistency issue, and they've done nothing to fix it. And you're not going to convince me it'll be fixed by playing the Lions. I'll go to the game, and I hope we have fun. I want a fun time at the game. But beating the Lions is not going to change any minds. Beating the Lions is not going to convince people that this team has rounded the corner. You might call me pessimistic. And I say, show me why I'm wrong. Not just a game, consistently. Show me why I'm wrong. Show me why this team has changed anything. How they've rounded the corner. It's not enough. The answer I will give you is that this team isn't good enough. They've shown it time and time again. They're not good enough. They've got talent. Tons of it. It hasn't come together. If it did come together, and it's not just the quarterback issue. I know the sentiment is that this team is just a quarterback away. It can't just be that. This team would have still won a few of the games that they lost. If it was literally just a QB issue, they still might have found a way to win some of the games that they lost because there's no way all of that was on QB play. Some of it is, a lot of it is, but not all of it. This team has a lot of talent, but it is not coming together, and that's on leadership. They don't have the right guys at the helm, and the talent is not there. Well, the talent is there, but the people to bring it together, they're not. I can like a few games that they've played, but still think that the future is not here. I think a lot of people can agree the next Denver Bronco quarterback, whoever it might be, is not on this roster. The future of the Broncos is currently not in the room. The defense is there. The offensive core is there. The quarterback and the coach, I think, are not there. People think I'm wrong. You might think I'm being overly pessimistic. Well, in that case, got 5 games to change my mind. I don't know how you'll do. I see 8-9. That's what I'm looking at. I think we're staring down the barrel of it. And then they're definitely going to fire people. Because it's playoffs or bust at this point. You can't accept mediocrity. And if you do, then you're trapping yourself in a hole that's going to be impossible to get out of. This is just what I'm seeing. I don't know how I'm supposed to be optimistic when they show me that every time they do give a reason, they will dash it the following week. So at this point, you got to prove it to me. You got 5 games to change my mind. You had a chance last week and you blew it. Beating the Lions isn't going to do it. But if you beat the Lions and you go beat Kansas City again, Maybe you beat the Chargers again. Maybe you beat the Raiders. Maybe you beat the Bengals. Okay, we got something. You can talk about that. But until you prove it to me, nah, I'm not giving you the benefit of the doubt. You've yet to earn that. I'm not giving the benefit of the doubt to a coach and to a team that hasn't earned it. This is the National Football League. You don't get a pass. Nobody does. You may not like what I have to say, but unfortunately, this is reality. This is where we're at. It's a 6-6 team that at times is better than they show. At times they're worse than they show. But it is not good enough. I think that's the only words I can use to describe this team.